Have you told your friends that you see ghosts?
Oh, absolutely not.
Gina Rodriguez returns in Not Dead Yet.
I'm back, baby!
Who is up?
Oh, she's the obituary writer.
And Brad Garrett joins the brilliant ensemble cast.
Titan, Maverick, Titan of all Mavericks. These are all words used to describe me.
Not Dead Yet. Season premiere. Tonight, 8:30, 7:30 Central on ABC. And stream on Hulu.
Hey everybody, we're gonna lull you to sleep. I'm gonna take you to a little dream world. Just think of your deepest dreams, your biggest abilities. You're gonna become a dream warrior with all of us. We're all gonna be the dream warriors. As we discuss Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 on our second live episode from Monster-Mania 2018, but not at Monster-Mania 2018. For
1 mile down the road.
1 mile down the road. So this one, of all of the movies we watched, I have the least amount of notes for, because we also recorded a bunch of episodes for the podcast in a hotel room. And I think it's just because I fucking love this movie. Like, I don't need no notes.
I needed notes.
I didn't see it, I lived it.
And the best part is that Steven made my entire body turn green with envy by bringing a sweet Nightmare on Elm Street VHS. It's got like the Dokken MTV video on it.
Yes, this VHS actually has a story as well. When I first saw this movie, it was in 1989, I believe, and my older brother came home after buying it, and he's like, "What are you doing home?" And I'm like, "I'm home from school because I pretended to be sick." And he's like, "Well, you're going to watch this and be a man." And I was like, "Okay." And it was awesome. But even better than that, this is his because I stole it from him. So fuck you, Brian.
So we're going to do something a little bit
Did you
different.
realize that both your brothers are named Brian?
Just now.
I mean, yeah, I heard him say the name Brian and it clicked.
Go fuck yourself. I'm not doing this podcast.
So we're going to be a little bit like Analog Jones for a split second, which is the podcast that Steven hosts. Was there any good trailers at the start of the Nightmare on Elm Street 3 VHS tape?
No, and it was pissed because I was like, "Oh, this is going to be some great ones, new line. You know they're going to stick it with this one." And then it was just like, media started. And I was like, "Oh, no.
No trailers at all?
No, but
Disappointment.
I mean, usually on our podcast when we're doing VHSs, we get spectacular trailers. And this one was very disappointing. But we did get a good quote, which I could not find. Is this real? From the very beginning of this, it says, "Sleep, those little slices of death, how I loathe them." Edgar Allan Poe.
I mean, it sounds...
I think I saw that as a title card. Is
yeah,
that right?
yeah, it pops up as a title card. I mean, I don't know Edgar Allan Poe's work by heart, but that seems in line with the things that he wrote.
Yeah. But, like, nothing gets me more hype than the old school red and black flashing New Line cinema with,
such
like,
a
the
good...
lines
Yeah,
between it.
so
Like,
good.
Nothing. Like, my wife can be like, "I'm going to give you $1 million and sexual favors." And I'll be like, "Yeah, but are you going to show me the flashing New Line cinema?"
Well, it didn't have any
Plus,
of
she'll
the
show you that before the sexual favors.
See,
Best
instead
thing
of putting trailers on this,
Projected
though,
on the wall.
instead of putting trailers, though, they did put the entire music video at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And it is awesome.
My biggest problem with the music video is the screaming from the movie that they added on top of, and very poorly mastered, with, like, it's mixed so high that you can't hear anything except for your, like, speakers reverberating over top of that last chorus, I think it is.
Yeah.
But it's like it's the bridge, right? Like, the best part of the song is like, "Sweet repent."
Yeah, that's where all the screams are.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can barely see the music video on this VHS.
So dark and grainy.
So
like if you
nasty.
watch it on YouTube, it's the exact same as Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
It's almost at the very end of the tape. They just kind of like, oh, there's only shit tape left. Just stick the music video on it. We don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
So the movie starts off with Christy listening to the second best talking song from the movie, Into the Fire.
Ooh.
As she's making a paper mache of the Kruger house.
This album is Back to the Attack, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty positive that this is Back to the Attack, and so this is Dokken's best record. It's got so many good songs on it. Like, I unironically love this record, and anybody that even remotely likes Dream Warriors, listen to Back for the Attack. It is a really good record, and George Lynch, the guitar player for the band, is just stupidly talented.
So we get our first of this movie, there's very little in actual things that I want to discuss that aren't just let's just talk about all of the dream sequences. Because they kind of all just link the story together anyway. Anytime that they're not in a dream, they're just having exposition.
Yeah, this movie is way too much exposition to be a good film, but it still is a good film. I don't even know how it does
great
it.
Film.
I also read this was the first Nightmare on Elm Street to not begin with a dream.
I mean, but it kind of does begin with a dream, doesn't it? She's making the paper mache.
Yeah, but
and
that's
then immediately
real.
Drifts to sleep. Okay, fair enough.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Well, what I do like about
It's from
this
Fangoria,
intro-
I don't know,
Yeah,
so.
well, I mean, I trust Fangoria, but the best part about this is that we had Nightmare on Elm Street '84, right?
Yeah.
And then we had Nightmare on Elm Street 2,
85. They
and then
rushed that one, and then they took some time.
They took till 87 for Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. And this is a return to form for the intro where she's making the paper mache house.
Yeah.
And it's exact similarities. I would love to see a side-by-side of this and Freddy making his glove, which I think is very cool.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So yeah, the first one doesn't start with a dream. Fangoria is wrong.
Well, let's just say the title card is the dream.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry, the title card is itself, and then we have in the original Amanda Weiss running down in her white nightie and the goat bleeding in the background. And then what's the beginning of part 2?
It's the bus.
Okay, yeah. So that is like a dream sequence,
Yeah.
and then we have
The whole movie's like a dream.
Yeah. A wet dream for all of us. But we have Patricia Arquette's character talk to her mom.
Their whole relationship is so uneven.
It is awful. That mom is fucking Patricia Arquette up. So Patricia Arquette is her name's Kristen, and she's hardcore dry chewing caffeine pills, which have to be the most bitter thing you've ever put in your mouth. They are disappointment turned into a food. It's just but they're like pop rock. It sounds like she's like.
Oh yeah, is that where she took the spoonful of coffee and then drank it with Diet Coke?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. She took caffeine pills and then she took some fucking Senka. No, I'm sorry, not Senka. What's that freeze-dried coffee that my dad used to drink all in the 80s? It's that stuff. She took a spoonful, a giant spoonful.
Oh, I've got to read it. Yuck. Spoonful of Maxwell coffee and Diet Coke. Hey, notes, they're important.
Yeah. Well, so
but
this
then she still falls asleep.
She still falls asleep, and this is I would make the strong argument that the first Nightmare has some pretty cool dream sequences.
I love the bathroom scene.
But I'd be hard pressed to think of a bad dream sequence inside of Dream Warriors. Most of them
all
are
awesome.
very great.
I think that the least awesome has to do with
the Wizard.
Yeah, but it's still
it's
it
weak
kills.
as shit.
It's better than pretty much everything in 4 and 5 except for the Roach Death.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Roach Death is the shining beacon of light throughout those two movies.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's still the Wizard is better than everything except for the Roach Death.
The Roach Death super makes up for that one death where the guy gets killed by an invisible Freddy in a karate studio.
Yeah. But also we have Screaming Mad George to thank for the cockroach scene.
Here we do. So this written by Frank Darabont.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't direct. I forget who directed. Directed by the guy who did the Blob remake. So it's just
there's not nearly enough child death
to make
Chuck
Russell. Chuck Russell.
Chuck Russell. There we go. And then the bathroom scene is great with the Freddy claws.
I love it. It's so good.
This is awful for an audio medium.
I love your sound effects though.
Yeah, those were great practical effects. I was really trying to figure out how they did that.
There's like not a bad practical.
And it's not
effect in
stop
this movie.
motion. That's what I want.
No,
to know.
yeah,
It's like it's animatronic, and I don't know how they did it.
And it's not answered in the 5.5 hours of Never Sleep Again.
Oh my god!
The one question
Steven
I
and I
wanted
had that
It's
conversation.
5.5.
walking around.
I thought it was 4.
Whatever.
Oh,
I'm making
God.
up numbers. It's long.
It is 4+. And Steven and I were talking about this while we were walking around Mania yesterday. Like, we can't finish it because Heather Langenkamp is obnoxious. She's awful.
And I've watched it like 8 times.
Oh man, I can't wait till you get to her in this. I got a note.
So everyone thinks that Chrissy tried to kill herself, so they put her in the psych ward. And this is where we meet the whole wacky cast of suicidal characters and Cowboy Curtis, who's taking care of all of them. And they're all great. Like, this is the difference between the first Nightmare and this movie with all of the other Nightmare movies is that you genuinely like every teenager that's in this movie. They're like compelling characters. You feel sorry for them.
Well, I would say that who's the strong man? What's his name? Kincaid, thank you. He's my least favorite just because I feel like he's my least favorite only because they don't really like. He's just kind of like a jive talking motherfucker. Like, I don't like that. It's so.
He seems like a dude who's got a wallet that says "badass motherfucker" on it.
No, he's only because he's written that way. In real life, if this was really written in like a better way, he would be a little bit more nuanced instead of like the jive talk.
I don't know because I don't know if you got to the Dream Warrior sequence in Never Sleep Again, but that's
I
pretty
did.
much exactly how he talks in all of his interviews too.
And he
Unless he's just
also,
in character
went
the whole
into
time.
the interview as that character.
Yeah, he has the one line that I love where he's just like, he goes, like I got to live till the end, which was pretty cool because. That's great, but then, like, they killed me in the first movie right away. Like, they were like, we forgot to kill the black guy in the last movie. He's like, my family went to see the movie. I said, don't get popcorn or you're going to miss me. He's great. I love Kincaid. But, like...
I like him, but I feel like he's just borderline racist. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, yeah, I could see that. But I just like that he does not give a fuck. Like, there's that one point where they're like, we're going to administer. This is like, fuck you, you're going to administer.
Yeah, he's like, the fuck you are, I think is what he
he
says.
starts throwing fists and stuff. I'm like, because you know who wasn't going to throw fists? The wizard.
Yeah.
See, I thought he was the impulse of like the entire audience watching because they were like, "Oh, we're gonna put you down." No, fuck you. That's exactly what I said. I was like, no, get him, Kincaid, get him. I just yell at the screen, and I've seen the movie like 10 times.
And I mean, you meet all the characters. It is what it is. The movie kind of takes a little bit of like a, hey, here's everybody, here's the exposition. But
Here's
then
Joey and his nurse fetish.
Yeah, but then we get into the Freddy phallus that explodes out of the fucking house, and like we are back in.
Yeah, and that is probably, I would say, like, I love the cockroach death in 5, but I would say that the most memorable death in any movie in the franchise has to be the worm.
But no one dies in that scene. That's the only thing.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. That's, that's the most famous. I would say that it's the most, like, when people think about Freddy and being, like, how Freddy was so kick-ass in the 80s, like, it's the worm.
I agree, and I think that
it's such a dream sequence, though.
It's such a dream sequence, and it also, like, it was so good that whether it was intentional or not, it totally got ripped off the next year in Beetlejuice because that Beetlejuice snake and the Freddy worm,
I don't even care,
they're both fucking awesome.
Yeah, but the Freddy worm is still nightmare fuel.
Yeah,
like,
well, because he's got the only reason I say that they seem familiar is that they both have a very similar situation where both of them look at a person that they know who that person is, and they do like the head nod and like the weird like evil smile.
Yeah.
Except then Freddy doesn't also say, "We're coming to get your daughter, bud." He's like such a good movie. I wish we could do Beetlejuice. We're gonna
someday, dude.
We'll
Don't
watch
worry.
it for the stream.
Hell yes.
I'm gonna update our Trello.
Man, who would win in a fight, Beetlejuice or Freddy? Like, my mind just exploded with that versus. And you guys were talking, and I'm like, whoa.
No, that is
Okay, so let's travel into
but
1996 and pitch it to Celebrity Deathmatch and see how it goes.
Well, let's ask our 50
they're already
audience
stop
members
motion,
who
so
would
it's
win in a
pretty
fight, Beetlejuice or Freddy.
Here's the thing is that, like, at first I was like, that's a stupid question. Then I'm like, no. That's a really good question.
We're gonna need some math problems. Like, start writing that. Like, where's Russell Crowe from The Beautiful Mind? Like,
we got to get him and Will Hunting together to figure this one out.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. All right, so we're at Warren Freddy.
We're at
and
Warren
then we
Freddy.
get
Puppet.
So I love that Kristen is like the OG Dream Warrior because
Yeah.
she's had this power to like bring people into her dreams. I love when she brings Nancy into the dream by like falling into her chair. I love it. It's so good. And like Nancy does deserve to be in this movie. Like Heather Langenkamp cannot act her way out of a box. Like I appreciate her for the first movie, but like she's just not a good actress.
She struggled to play herself in.
You know what?
in New
The
Nightmare.
only thing she needs in this entire movie is that hair. Because when she walks on, I was like, damn! Someone just got done up!
And she's gorgeous. Like Heather Langenkamp is a beautiful, beautiful creature of a woman. And like
And she seems like she's a genuinely sweet person.
and she
like,
takes the responsibility of being the survivor. I mean, even though she dies spoiler alert for a movie you didn't
No!
see. Yeah, but like she dies at the end of this movie, more or less. But like she is the quintessential character besides Robert Englund from this franchise, and she embraces it completely, and she's awesome. I don't mean to rag on her as a person, but like when you watch Dream Warriors, you realize that when she was acting in the original Nightmare, it's not acting. She's just not a very good actress.
Yeah.
She's like, come on, mother. And it's hard to discuss Dream Warriors without the original Nightmare.
I was like, so did they just keep all of her first takes? Because part of me, I was just like, because she's like, hi, don't do that. Oh my gosh. You know, like if we were looking at each other and we had to say I love you, it would be like, you would say something and I'd be like, yes, Scott, I too love you. Let's smooch.
Perfect. Move on to the next shot.
Check out my Malaysian dream doll. This is not a set piece at all.
Spectacular.
Hero prop, this is.
Well, like, I feel like it makes.
Welcome to Horror Movie Night Theater.
But like, let's be realistic. That like, with as many practical effects as they were dealing with this movie on probably a very short shooting schedule,
all the exposition was like 1-2 takes.
just
as long
get
as they
them
didn't
talking.
Get
the
the
Freddy
talking
phallus needs to look perfect.
Because there is, side note, there is an amazing, unofficial behind the scenes of Dream Warriors. I mentioned it to both of you guys this weekend already.
You talking about the YouTube
it's
one,
like
right? Yeah, it's
45
awesome.
minutes. It's all camcorder. It's basically a dude with a shoulder-mounted camcorder videotaping on film a bunch of these scenes, and it's just a great background into how they did this, the practical effects for like
Unfortunately,
the worm.
the sync's not there. Otherwise, we have some answers.
I don't even.
I know. But did you hear that? So when they showed like the Freddy snake thing pop up, so there was a cut on it where he's just like, you know, it kind of looks like, and they cut, and I'm like, yeah, you're gonna say a dick.
Especially when there's goo coming out of their mouth.
I'm not sure if you remember this from the Never Sleep Again documentary, but originally he was a very skin-toned pink snake. And they're like, yeah, paint that shit green and throw some slime on it ASAP.
They were
You need to goo
"Can
that."
Can you purple his head some more?
You just see
Yeah, let me
Bob
just,
Shea.
like, really get on there.
Bob Shea. I really like the second one, and I love that dick right there. Is that Freddy? Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Which one are we specking out here?
So
ahead. I do want to say that what'd you call him? Ranger Bill? What was it?
Cowboy Curtis.
Cowboy Curtis.
That's the character he played in Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Right. I call him Kmart Bill Maher.
Okay, that works too.
I love the romance.
Oh, no, you're thinking of a different person. I'm talking
Gordon.
about Larry Fishburne.
Oh, Morpheus, the god of sleep. No, I'm talking about Dr. Gordon.
Yes,
who
he is
most
absolutely
ineffectual
Bill.
doctor.
He is Bill Maher.
Yeah, I love
exactly
them.
like
I
him.
love the romantic dinner they have at Nancy's house because Nancy is so fucked up after Johnny Depp dying in the first movie that she's like, she has him over, she makes him dinner, they're drinking wine, and then instead of being like, kiss me all over, she's like, check out my Malaysian dream doll. Like, she is not getting touched tonight. Like, one good way to stay awake is to bang. And she's like, I'm so awkward. Let's just talk about dreams.
So we jump over to the puppet death where Freddy
Which is
actually...
so good.
The
Sleepwalking
puppet
death.
so good, but I do have a note where Joey... So we haven't really talked that much about Joey. Joey has the inability to talk. He's a mute right now. And he runs over to a nurse to get her attention, and it is like straight out of Lassie. Like she's like...
Timmy fell
banging
down
his
the
hands,
well.
and he's like banging his hands on the table. And she's like, what is it, Joey? Where do we need to go? Like it's almost embarrassing.
Almost. I mean, it's not as embarrassing as his nurse fetish.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
he's,
I
like,
don't know
banging
anything
a-
about fetishes or
Slamming a
anything.
bedpan against like doors.
It's like full of piss.
And the guy who dies when they first show him. By the way, that is an excellent actor who got like 2 minutes of actual screen time because everything he was putting on screen, I was like, oh, I'm captivated by this character. Even though I've seen this a bunch of times, I was like, I hope he lives. And then
There's one thing that's really awkward to me. I think it's awesome. Like I love this shot, but like 90% of the movie when he's walking, or 90% of the scene, he's like walking around like a puppet, and his face looks like completely pained. But for like the very first scene where he gets picked up, he just looks so jolly. Like he got hit by the Joker serum from like the first Batman movie, and he's just like, love that Joker.
and I love how we've gotten Joker and Beetlejuice in this podcast. Let's keep going.
Yeah,
Just
Tim
keep
Burton
going.
should have just made this movie.
Yeah.
Holy hell.
Tim
Did you
Burton's
notice-
Dream Warriors. Large Marcy.
Sorry.
That one scared the piss out of me as a kid. Wow.
Did you notice he looked like Sean Astin? Like I sat there, I paused my VHS and like I loved it. If anyone watches this, they're like, "Wow, someone like paused it and jerked off to the Sean Astin scene." No.
You jerked off to this face.
You jerked off to his vinegar strokes. But like that scene would be so less gross and so less disturbing without the sound effects because the sound effects are everything.
It's
in there.
It is an uncomfortable
absolutely.
scene.
But we so after that death, which they rule a suicide for whatever reason.
Because it looks like he jumped.
Yeah,
Because it would be a lot harder to declare it a suicide if his tendons were torn out.
Yeah, absolutely. Freddie didn't actually pull out his tendons, but like we get everybody on a hypnosil, which is supposed to keep them from dreaming.
Yeah. Well, wait. I want to talk about two more things with the puppet death because we kind of jumped immediately to like the actual puppet scene, but like the stop motion little Freddy.
It looks okay.
But like as a guy who just loves stop motion, I'm like I
no,
love that little
it's-
guy, and I love. It's not the best looking shot in the movie, but I love when he's at the bell tower and there is a giant Freddy like
Above
holding
top, yeah.
a puppet like thing.
That's just like double negatives, but
Oh, yeah.
I don't even care.
But it's such a cool effect.
It looks fine to me.
That stop motion animator, by the way, was given 4 days to do that.
This is why we have him on.
4.
So he knows all the tech specs.
Yeah.
Like, it was absurd. Like, just to put that in comparison, like, there's parts of King Kong that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Like, each 30 seconds sometimes would take 2 weeks, and that's all they were working on.
Yeah.
This guy just barely gets any time, and he nails this. It might not look
Knowing
great,
that,
but
like,
for
it
his
looks so much
time,
better in
it's
my mind.
spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're at the point where everybody gets like a hypnosil, right?
Yeah.
And then.
But the one girl won't take it. She wants to watch late night TV. instead.
Yeah. The girl who's like
She's gonna be a star.
Yeah, she's gonna be on TV. She's like the Kmart Renee Zellweger character in this, which comes to one of everybody's favorite lines in the franchise. My least favorite line in the franchise. I fucking hate "Welcome to Primetime, Bitch."
No, because
I
the
hate it.
first line's way better. When he's like, "Here's your big break in TV." Should have just been that.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, like it's a cool visual.
Completely disagree.
Well, no, I don't
love it.
I don't like "Welcome to Primetime, Bitch" because I've heard so many people say, so many neckbeard horror dudes talk about it, and they don't realize how sexualizing that is. I fucking can't stand it because they're like,
Oh, okay.
I mean, like I don't like really overtly like negative against women. Like, and I don't like Freddy when I like Freddy when he's a child rapist and killer. But like,
Yeah,
I don't like
yeah.
him when he's like a fucking like.
But if he calls a fine lady who wants to be a star a bitch,
I don't know why that rubs me the wrong way. It's just so out of left field, and I hate it. I fucking can't
well,
stand
and it's
it.
like, I hate the idea.
Also, they say she's a suicide, which makes no sense.
Yeah,
Who's
she
going to
just
like?
jumped head-first into a TV set. and
There's a
smacked-
TV in here 9 feet. I'm going to do it right now. Prove all you wrong.
Yeah,
I'm going to
exactly.
jump right into that.
Lawrence Fishburne is like, I can do that twice and not die.
It's Larry Fishburne in this.
Yes.
Larry.
I don't even care. It's Morpheus.
But like, I also just hate that like the background of that "Welcome to Primetime, Bitch" line is that basically they just like let Robert Englund do a bunch of different takes, and they were just like, they're all so good. Like it's like, well, that's just fucking lazy. Pick one. Like,
Yeah, and I think that might be literally the first time that well, I don't know. I think that too, if we kind of take it out of the franchise, we talk about 3 as the first time that Freddy kind of got a little goofy.
Yeah.
Like, I think
this is the first.
Bitch is the quippiest thing that he says.
This is the first moment of
he says
trash.
To all my children now in 2, but like in 3, the Welcome to Primetime Bitch is like the first time he has a zinger.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't like that Freddy. I like when Freddy is scary.
You know,
it gets way worse in part 4. Part 4, he's like throwing sunglasses on, and like if Mentos were doing their commercials, he'd absolutely be doing like.
Why didn't he do a Mentos in 1988? Like, they could have sold so many breath mints.
Freddy's going to a big interview, but he only has a red sweater, and he sees someone painted a bench green, so he rolls on it.
If I had a time machine, I wouldn't stop Hitler. I would go back in time, and I'd be like, Robert Englund, boy, do I have an idea.
You're like, listen.
Is that a DeLorean? Shh, Mentos.
And Robert Englund, from any interview I've ever seen with him, would just be very lethargic and be like, yeah, I guess that sounds like a good idea.
He's like Benzo's in human form. Like, that's exactly what he is. Like, he's been sleeping a lot. He's a sleepwalker.
I feel like he's done so many horror conventions and has met so many of his fans.
But the thing is, he's so sweet.
Like, yeah, no, it's great. I really.
The only way that I could like emotionally make my way through 50 days minimum of Monster-Mania is to be like that.
Yeah.
Is to be walking antidepressants.
Yeah.
I'm not saying benzos are antidepressants. I'm just saying, like, that's another reference.
But I think that, like, I could be wrong, but I think Robert Englund is also one of those guys, kind of like a Jeffrey Combs, that came from a very theater background.
He sure did, and that's what made Freddy great, but it's also what made Freddy terrible, because he kept, like, he had a blank check to be Freddy, because, like, when you watch Never Sleep Again, they talk about how in 2, they were like, fuck it, we'll get anybody in a rubber suit to be Freddy, and they started shooting with that other guy, and it's terrible, and they were like, we need Robert Englund. So, like, I get it. We got Jackie Earle Haley.
Yeah, who
could
there's
have
a
been
lot of issues.
there.
There's a lot of issues with that.
Yeah,
he is not the issue in that movie.
Yeah, absolutely not him. It's the direction and the script, but like, he really is Freddy. Yeah. Like, and I think that Jeffy Combs, I love Jeffy Combs. Like, I will defend Jeffy Combs and pick him over Bruce Campbell.
He is way more an actor.
He's like, yes, well, where is this scene going? Yeah, he's like, yeah, but like, I think that I think that Robert Englund had a blank canvas to be whatever he wanted, and he was just like, you know what would be cool? Yeah. You know what kids would think is cool?
Well, but
sunglasses are pretty.
But I disagree. I think that Robert Englund was whatever you put in front of him, he would do. But as it became more, I think that the bigger blame is actually on, was it Rain Harlan that did part 4?
Yes.
Like, Rain Harlan made, because he even says in, like, Never Sleep Again, he's like, I wanted to bring Freddy to the MTV generation. And
he sure fucking did,
and as soon as he did that, it was like, well, now this is who Freddy is. So it's like, well, now, because it was
and we get that until New Nightmare.
And it's like, once he started popping up on TV, he's like, well, I guess this is who Freddy, like, well, I think Robert Englund is a person who could not care less about Freddy as far as, like, standing up for the rights of who Freddy should be.
I disagree very vehemently, because he has a very strong stake into what Freddy should be.
Right. So,
and fifth grade Steven, who shocked his friends with a Trapper Keeper that had a child molester on it, and everyone thought it was awesome.
The most shocking thing about this for me, though, is that all of that really, really kid-centric marketing didn't work on me, and I had nightmares about Freddy every night. Like, he terrified me until I watched the original Nightmare,
want to hug 12-year-old Scott.
No, it's Freddy's arms. Oh God! I just got just listening. Wow, Matt made it weird, which is actually Matt's middle name. Matt, I
That's
made
my
it weird,
7th
Kelly.
podcast.
Yeah,
Made it weird.
Matt made. Oh my! Actually, that's way better than any of the other podcasts that you currently comment here. So I have a couple lines that I want to talk about here.
All right. Is one of them in my dreams? I'm a wizard master because man, I related to that one.
I'll get there. So we have Kristen Patricia Arquette talking about Nancy is like, you were able to bring me into your dream, and she was like, but out of context. If we just had this as sound clips, I haven't been able to do that since I was a little girl. You did that last night. That was different. Now, is this two women talking about some sort of sapphic desire that they had, or is it her talking about bringing into her dream? I don't know. But then we have everybody goes into their dreams because Kristen is available to co-opt everybody's dreams. Taryn comes into her dream and she's got a fucking sweet-ass mohawk and switchblades in both hands and like cleavage, and she's like, in my dreams, I'm beautiful and bad, which is actually how I wrote it down.
So we got B-A-Y-U-D.
Yeah, bad.
It's like my last name, B-A-U. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, but then I have a note that I don't remember why. Freddy is totally stacked beneath his grimy sweater. Was he
I think
dressed
it's
up as
because
a
he
woman?
just looks swole as fuck through seasons.
I think I'm talking about him having tits, though. I don't know why. That's Freddy in my dreams, though.
Well, I think it's because we got enough hate mail when we said that Kane Hodder was a fat sack of shit. So I guess you're going after Robert Englund.
Well, he did cut someone up.
He did massacre some dude. So let's talk real quick about Monster-Mania while we're here. But
This is
like,
horror movie night.
Anybody familiar with a little game called Telephone Pictionary? Telephone Pictionary happened in a huge way on Fridays. So
and today.
A very, very like understandable accident happened with Kane Hodder. Someone gave him a machete.
A real machete.
A real, like, sharpened machete that he assumed...
Which is so dumb.
Which is a terrible decision. He assumed it was, like, a dulled-down machete, and he, like, did a swing and, like, cut into somebody's arm.
Like,
so that was the first
open.
story that we heard, and we're like, okay, cool. Like, 2 hours later, someone's like, yo, did you hear someone got straight stabbed in the parking lot? Like, it was like... And we're like,
the best part is those kids were dressed up like My Chemical Romance.
Dude, but it literally, all I could think of when that happened is that scene in Empire Records where, like, Lucas is, like, sitting in the break room and fucking the pizza guy comes in. He's like, yo, Lucas, is it true that you stole a bunch of money and now the mob's got a hit after you? Like, it's like the way that story so quickly escalated from, like, hey, this accident happened and it had to be handled to, like, there was a knife in here. Like...
No one wins in a knife fight, apparently. I did say that it must have been so awesome to work on those moving sets because and they use those in Breaking 2, which is just amazing. I just love that about this movie.
Can we just talk about that movie?
We cannot talk about Breaking 2.
I'm not properly prepared.
I have not either. I've never watched the whole thing.
I have it on VHS.
I know.
It's gorgeous.
Scott, I know why you wrote that because Joey flat out makes out with Freddy because he's got that nurse. He's the nurse with the perfect boobs.
Oh, now that's the part of my VHS that I can barely see.
That nurse, what nurse wears a white thong to work? Like, I've never met a nurse that's been like, fuck yeah, I wear thongs. I've never met a woman who's like, I wear thongs to work. I don't care how big your ass is. Like, no one wears thongs to work.
I'm literally wearing a thong
I'm looking at
right
women.
now.
Is there anybody that's like, Scott's wrong?
Well, we should not ask, not my Megan, but Johnny's Megan, like, because I feel like she's like a commando type girl. You satanic bitch.
So, real quick question. Does anybody know how this scene was originally supposed to play out?
I hope that she tongued his balls.
No, it was originally supposed to be the naked nurse with Freddy's head, so it was like Freddy with the
That would have been the craziest boner of my life.
that was like, they were like, this is going to be so cool, and then she like walked on the set and they're like,
There is actually a
or
picture
did
of
they
it.
give
There's
Robert
pictures
Englund
of
tits?
it.
You and I talked about this. There's pictures in Fangoria of it and another UK magazine I have. And it is like This woman is gorgeous.
She's a very beautiful
But you
blonde
put
woman.
this burnt head nastiness on there, and like she could come out naked right now and be like, "Oh shit, where's the exit sign? I don't know, I'm out." There's no way. She is so horrible looking with that thing on.
This is why we need the bag for her head.
Yeah. So there's another thing that I forgot that I wrote this. I've watched this movie hundreds of times. And I've never...
I think that is a gross extrapolation of how many times you've seen this movie.
I've never noticed that there's a scene. So Nancy gets all of the Dream Warriors together, and she's like, "We've got to join back together. We've got to fight Freddy." But they go into the TV room, and like there's still scorch marks all over the wall. It's been like 3 days. Like you'd think that they'd be like, "We should probably clean this up real quick."
We should make sure they're not thinking about their dead friend right now.
Like it's only like one step away from her still dangling from the TV set. Like,
Well, what if they never took her down? They're like, man, this TV set's always dead. I hate cable. It sucks.
and then we also meet Nancy's father, who's a drunk.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man, but like this is where the franchise really gets shit.
Yeah.
Because like we get Drunk Daddy, and then we get the bastard son of 100 maniacs subplot, which is just beat to death in the next two movies. It's so bad.
Yeah, no, it's so now we're like sucked into all these separate dreams, and the one is like starting right back in the beginning of the movie. We get to hear "Into the Fire" again, so that's like a big plus.
They didn't have money for a third Dawkins song.
No, they
right?
got those two, and man, did they make that work.
It's a good song.
But that's where we get the scene that I always remember from this movie. Like, there's a lot of scenes that are great in this movie, but I always remembered the line from Freddy where, like, in the first part of the movie, there's a guy's like, "Hey, honey, where's the ice cubes?" Or, like, whatever the fuck he asked for.
Where's the bourbon?
Yeah, where's the bourbon? And then, like, he
No,
runs it-
where's the fucking bourbon?
Yeah.
Which is what Steven sounds like when he's drunk.
But then
Accurate.
when you realize that you're in a dream this time, it's Freddy, and he's like, "I said, where's the goddamn bourbon?" Like, but then he gets back to him calling another woman a bitch in the scene.
Does he call her a bitch in that?
I'm pretty sure he said, "I asked, where's the bourbon, bitch?"
God, this movie is so demeaning to women. I hate it, but like, it's still entertaining. I've watched this movie like 6 times. Like, I can fight past the. It's not my most watched nightmare.
Yeah,
but it's.
But then we get like, it's such like a. They just are like fucking flying through killing people. So you.
Yeah,
just got, like,
this goes
Yeah,
fast.
like I thought that this was stretched out a lot longer, but it's like, hey, here's the needle wounds death, here's the chair death. The chair death is so weak. It is such a bad scene. And have you ever seen? So originally he was supposed to like shove the needles, the syringes into her arm, and her head was supposed to like explode.
I didn't know that.
And you can see footage of it, and it looked bad. Like they made a good decision cutting that scene out because it just didn't look good at all. But yeah, then we get a cool like one of the only other note that I have, because again I just got sucked into Dream Warriors once again, but like the guy who grew up with a dad who made me watch Chasing the Argonauts over and over and over again was fucking loving Skeleton Freddy.
And I
fighting
have
in
a
that
note that
graveyard.
is so painfully dated. I hate it.
I love it. I love it because it reminds me of all
Jason
of
and
those
the Argonauts.
movies.
It looks. That's why I don't.
It
like
looks exactly like Jason.
But this
the
is
Argonauts.
1987.
Yeah.
Not 1957.
So 20-some years, 30 years since
Yeah.
Jason the Argonauts. And it's the same claymation skeleton quality.
But here, I do have a note about the fight where they're
I think it was
having
weird when the Cyclops came out afterwards.
Cyclops Freddy. I would be all about. But like, so
He kind of got it. He was the giant dick that tried to eat her in that one scene.
yeah. Except his head
Cue
wasn't-
Bob Shea coming in.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like that dick.
I want that dick in my movie.
There should be more dick in movie. I'm just saying it right
That's
now.
why he did Altered Carbon. So
Nailed it.
here's a line from right before the skeleton scene. The souls of the children give me strength. And I'm like, calm down, Jared Fogle. That hit way better than I expected. So then we have Dream Daddy, which is I'm going to make a pop band called Dream Daddy. Like it's just gonna be. Did you know like that AFI / No Doubt band Dream Car?
Yeah.
It's gonna sound like that, except me doing a very poor Davey Havok impression, but it's gonna be called Dream Daddy. It's gonna be just like this is gonna be. But so I really hate how fast Nancy's death is at the very end of this movie.
Oh, it's
because
like
it's
so unceremonious.
for her being like the face of Survivor Girls in this. Like, nobody lives as long as Nancy does in these movies. Like, she made it through 2 full movies.
Yeah.
It took her
And it's
2
just like,
weeks to get her hair did.
Just
And
to
she
be-
was only on set for 5 days.
Yeah, like, that's why she had to do 4.5 fucking hours.
Beauty
I'll
is
never see it
pain,
again.
my friend.
She's like, I'm going to make the most of my Nancy.
So do you have anything else to say about Dream Warriors besides the fact that the theme song's incredible?
What else is there to say? Like, it's just so good, but so bad.
And they made a lot of money. This is incredible. They only spent
Tells us tax
$4.5 million in total budget. Marketing with it, they spent about $6 million.
They marketed it for for more.
No. They spent with total. So 4.5 on the movie, about $6 million with marketing.
Okay.
In the U.S., $44.8 million in theater sales.
Jesus
Collective in North America, it was over $65 million.
That's why
Bob
they
Shea
got-
was just like popping corks. He's like, I've done it.
Freddie Dick. It's going to sell movies.
Now we just got to get him to put on some sunglasses and we can start selling action
Just
figures.
get the fucking Freddie Dick to put on sunglasses and just be like, and then give him like a baby dick arm and put the fucking glove on, like the power glove on him and be like, hey, Breckenmeyer, come and play with my baby dick.
So-
Are we writing the Nightmare on Elm Street porn right now?
Yeah.
Has
We're
it
not?
begun?
Wet Dream on Elm Street.
Oh!
I was going to say
Matt, checkmate.
bed smear on Elm Street. As I get more buzzed, the jokes get more rude.
But I was going to say, like, actually what I am baffled by is with all of the stuff that they were, like, aiming for kids after these movies and how much they were pushing for all of this stuff. This is, like, the prime time of...
Bitch.
Of like Ghostbusters toys, of Beetlejuice
And they didn't
toys.
make any Freddy toys.
Yeah, Beetlejuice toys. All of these toys, you could have made so many action figures based on different dream versions of Freddy that I would have played with non-fucking stop.
And the thing is it wouldn't have even had to have been in the movie.
Yeah, they could just be like, hey, this is from a dream scene too. We just haven't filmed it.
Absolutely. It's like we were talking about in the last episode about the Cenobites. Like,
Yeah.
they could have made bank in the early 90s with just
any
Cenobites that
Cenobite
didn't
they
even make it into movies. Just like, here's a gory character, and like, we'll sell it. And then they could have made like Worm Freddy. They could have made
Clay Puppet Freddy. They could have made...
And they could have made stuff that didn't even make it into the movie. They could have made all the Dream Warriors. They could have made extra Dream Warriors. They could have made the Dream Child. They could have had...
And it's not like it was unheard of. I bought so many action figures for movies that were not movies. Like, I had all of the Alien action figures when I was like 7.
That was like, was that 93 when
Yeah.
they did the Alien? It
was
was
for
Alien
Alien 3, yeah.
Yeah, and
It was
I
for
think that was
Alien
92, 93. I remember those next to all the X-Men toys, and I was just so painfully obsessed with the X-Men toys. And like TMNT, X-Men, Alien 3, and then they could have had Nightmare on Elm Street right next to it. And they could have done the G.I. Joe size.
Yeah.
And they could have made so much bank because all their 9-point articulation or 16-point articulation, they're not crazy.
And it would have been the best episode of
They
the
would have
toys
just
that
been
made us.
reskinned. That's all. They would have taken those molds and just remolded them from the GI Joes, and they would have made so much money.
Could you imagine all these kids on the playground like, yay! I love my child molester's bird. You know, like,
That's the
come
thing.
on.
They took away the child molestation and made him like an almost sad figure by being like, he can't help being a fucking child rapist because his mother was raped by 100 maniacs. No, like, you're a bad dude. I don't give a fuck what happened to you before. You know, and that's also a really bad thing that they kind of, if they were going to make the Nightmare remake good, and I've said this so many times, like, if you're going to remake Freddy,
Make him innocent.
remake him, fuck no.
Oh.
You remake him as ambiguous. Like, it doesn't matter.
See,
Because
I
the
always-
end result is the same. I don't want him to be innocent and then come back for revenge. I don't want him to be a child rapist and come back for revenge. I want it to be like, no one knows, and it doesn't matter because he's going to kill your kids regardless.
Fair enough. But I think that's all we have for the Dream Warriors. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.